My name is Kimberly Irions. My son's name is Keneas Irions. He's 6 years old and he was diagnosed with Trisomy 18, also known as Edwards syndrome. My journey began when I was at 24 weeks. I was told that my son would be born with Trisomy 18. And I was also told that most parents with a child born with that diagnosis, they either abort. And being that I was 24 weeks already along, they were even willing to send me to another state to abort. However, I decided to keep my son, and they also told me that there would be no intervention for kids that are born with trisomy 18, and the best resolution is to take him home with no care and allow him to dehydrate and die after 4 days. Within that information I received about the 4 days of dehydration, I still had faith that I would be able to continue with the care of my son, not knowing what I was facing. And at that moment, something just directed me to a palliative care team. And as I got more information about his diagnosis and got on the palliative care, I just continued on and decided to just keep my child and not abort. Immediately after birth, me and my son were not sent to a regular ward where they have babies. We were sent to a ward where people miscarry. He was not giving any care whatsoever, not even a feeding tube. We fed him with a small 1 ml syringe as much as we could with droplets of milk. And they just kept saying that they pretty much were waiting on him to die so that I could go home and be discharged. Care was given to me, but no care was given to the child. I was not even allowed to have a heater. So I took my son and I put him into my bosom, and that's how I kept him warm and alive until after 3 days I just contacted hospice. And from there we took him home as a hospice patient on the 4th day. And hospice felt that although they are hospice, they actually felt that with this diagnosis and looking at him, he had actually made it 3 days. They actually felt that he could live. So they came in and they intervened and they took us home. And from that day, the journey just went like a roller coaster. It really did. It was just me staying up around the clock 24 hours a day, hospice coming in for maybe like an hour, trying to just check him to make sure he's still breathing and administer morphine and just drugs to keep him, under comfort care. I began to see, he's making it and he's not dying like they said he would. And hospice saw that he was not dying like they thought that he would. And so they intervened and they offered me nursing care. At that time, we were given 8 hours of nursing care a day. And the nurses, they put an NG tube in him and they began to feed him after we got home. We would take him to doctors. No one would even admit him into a hospital if he got sick. No one would even give him any medication or any care. And it got to the point, I think it was this was a couple of weeks, April 16th, hospice came in and said that he would die. And the one doctor who was under the palliative care team came in and said that he was going to give him a chance. And he gave him his very first medication at 3 weeks of age. We were offered a nurse, and the nurse came in, and I don't know where she came from, but she has been a godsend from day one. She came in, and basically because of her, I learned how to take care of my son. And I went under her wing and learned everything that I could possibly do to keep him alive, being under her shadows. And she's still in our home today. So regular day with my son is complex. So my son does have a trach. He is on oxygen, and he is fed through a G tube. So a regular day with a nurse or without a nurse requires a lot of care because he's not able to walk. He says maybe a few words, but he's not able to communicate verbally. So from the time you wake up in the morning, you are constantly feeding him on and off the clock for 2 hours on, 2 hours off through the G tube. You are changing his trach tie, doing trach care. You are taking him on and off of the ventilator. You're making sure his oxygen levels are stayed on. He's on a post-ox, which is 24 hours a day. And constantly he has to be monitored. He's not to be without being monitored at no given minute of the day. It's a constant journey. He doesn't go and play like other kids or get downtime or anything like that. It's constant care 24 hours a day, to the point where now they have given us the liberty to have a 24-hour nurse in our home. So we deal with a lot of nurses and a lot of challenges daily. What I know now that I didn't know then was what trisomy 18 was, and that there was absolutely no medical intervention for children like that. Trisomy 18 is an extra 18 chromosome on each one of your cells. And what it is kids are born with, mostly it's their heart that is defected, and it's also, they may have some physical disabilities or delayed learning, but the main thing that keeps them from not living is the heart. They are born with tremendous holes in their hearts or just abnormal hearts, and they're just not able to make it because of the medical intervention is not given. I learned that you had to become an advocator and become an advocator quick, to the point of even advocating your children out of the state of Florida. And that's exactly what I learned, and that's exactly what I did. The thing that motivates me and keeps me going with my son is I'm just a natural competitive person by spirit. And seeing that he can live, it makes me want to fight and use him as a forerunner so that other kids can get care and live. If I could say one thing to other families out there that want to give up on this fight, this journey, I would say keep going, because no matter if your kid lives a minute, a second, hour, a day, they have a purpose. And for every time that one of these kids even take a breath, it opens the door for care. It opens the door for other families to come in and get help, because doctors have completely given up on our children. So it's up to us to keep going and fight. What I've learned about my son during these 6 years of life is, it's just like my shirt says, he's perfectly different. They call him incompatible to life. I call him perfectly different. Each child is so different that you can't put them under one umbrella. He's beat so many odds of this disorder with the trying to walk, the talking, everything. I guess he's just like a fighter too. And he's going to prove to them too that I can do it. When they see him now in the hospital, they went from saying, I don't want to give him any care, to saying, what else can we do for him? So I know that they see it too, and that makes me extremely happy to know that.